Right, everybody, it's save update time. We're into season 4. We're in La Liga. We started the stream on last night, Sunday night, in about 16th. We've peaked and we've risen all the way to 9th in and around the European spots. Too early? Maybe yes. Transfers have worked really well. As you can see, I've now completed the hat trick of Malaga shirts. If you're interested where I get these shirts from, check out the other video that I've done today from KickGG4. That's where I get my shirts from. I've also got the boy... Turn around, man. Sanyali on the back. All right, so today we're going to look at the squad in general, have a little bit of an update, but in particular, we're going to look at our next generation, our wonder kids that are coming through and the success we have had because of the pathway that I created. Check out the other video as well. I will leave a link down in the description to that about creating a player pathway and a look at the squads and the youth, and in particular the work we've done with the B team to get them in the 4th tier. All right, so let's get into it. Let's go. Here we are. Form has been pretty damn good. We've got a couple of games coming up. We've got a wonder kid on the way as well. We picked up a wonder kid. Jona Kusi Azer is coming in. He was wanted by Manchester. Well, he was wanted by us. And then Manchester United decided to have a little sniff about. So we went in full pelt. We got him in. He had a release clause of, whatever it was really cheap, £1.7 million. Now, he fits our profile quite well. He's going to be a brilliant finisher, really good physicals as well. We should be able to, at 19, we should be able to get these up into sort of like them greens, them 15s, 16s that we really want for those top class players. Needs a little bit of work with these mentals down here, but we've got a lot of development time, I think. Game time, 6'6", heading of 14 with a jumping reach of 17. And when we've got Danny Sanchez coming round the back, that's what she said, already 8 assists for the season, that does mean that he's going to get a load of success playing as a target forward. Our other striker is doing all right. He was a lovely little pickup, by the way. 375,000 from Salernitana, 6'5" himself, good physicals, a few nice little technicals in there as well. I will do a tactic video probably next week just to show you I'm quite happy with this being a really good tactic. We've tweaked things. The Treq is now playing offset on the right. That's just so he gets in these little half spaces. I do find when he stands in the middle, he kind of gets in between sort of like 2 double sixes or stands right next to a 6, and he just doesn't impact the game. They still don't impact the game as much as other positions. They kind of wander in and wander out, but when he does get on the ball, he just finds so much space. Because the winger is holding the width on this side, there's a little bit of room for Theo, Zidane's son, to get involved. 4 goals, 3 assists. And yeah, it's looking pretty good. Like, our budget for the season, our Swedish billionaire owner just started putting in a little bit of cash. We've spent a little bit this season, but not much. He's then bolstered our wages. And he's just given us a nice 12. That was on 0 a couple of weeks ago. And he's obviously given us £12 million ahead of January. I don't think I'm going to do any signings in January. I'm planning on not to. I like to keep things, you know, all the way through the season. We've had some really good runs. We're unbeaten in 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 until we got an absolute pasting against Betis. We've got Athletic Club. We've just played Athletic Club. Disappointing point as well. This is where we're disappointing in games when we're drawing against teams like Athletic Club. I think if we can nail a top half, I'll be absolutely buzzing. I think the media prediction was like 16th, 17th. Board wanted us to make sure we stayed up. We're going to do that because we are a real good footballing side. And once again, and after a shaky start at the back where we were kind of conceding too many goals, we've just showed it up a little bit. We had that as a box-to-box midfielder and that as a roaming playmaker, obviously in the central midfield sort of like area. We've now dropped into the DMs and it's worked so much better. We've got Munayin as well on the left. 4 goals, 4 assists. Not bad for a veteran. Obviously, look at him replacing. But the question is, what do we do? And when is the opportunity to move these superb youngsters that we've got coming through into the first team? Because they get to a point when they stop developing and you need to kind of not stop developing, but development slows down if we don't kick them onto the next level. So the player pathway, basically at the club, we have a B team, a C team, which we don't use. We don't use the C team at all. And we have an under-19s. Now, if you really wanted to do like a youth team save, my suggestion is always try and choose clubs that have B teams that are in the game. So, in particular, obviously, Germany, Spain, Netherlands. There's another one I'm thinking of that I can't remember it now. But basically, those nations, and I'll tell you for why. If you can get them at your club where they're getting probably better training, by the way, you know, my Malaga training facilities are so much better than them going out to sort of like a 4th tier side. And what we've done is, my Atletico Malguino side didn't actually start. They start in the 5th tier of Spanish football, which basically means that they're not in the game. So for season 1, season 2, season 3, they've been playing games, but we haven't seen the results. End of the 3rd season, they then popped up in the Segunda Federación Grupo 4, which is basically the 4th tier of Spanish football. So they are now fully in the game, which gives us a beautiful platform, number one, to have we have fantastic coaches, we have fantastic training facilities. So me having them with myself, I hate sending players out on loan as well. I like to keep them with me, and having a place now where they can develop together, playing at a decent level. We've got all the analysis as well of the sort of like the player stats and stuff. So a really good platform, and the best thing is they're 6 points clear over halfway through the season, and that means that if they get promoted, they're going to be in the 3rd tier of Spanish football. I did this with my Bilbao save a couple of years ago. I got them into sort of like the 4th tier. We ended up having Bilbao in the sort of like the top half of the 2nd tier, and it gives you a really good base to develop players going forward. So my suggestion would be like, it's a little bit of potluck sometimes. You're going to get that team playable in. So what I did was I tried to be as realistic as possible, and I made sure my B team had a clear pathway. All the best youth team players went in there. Any players that I didn't think were good enough for the first team, they went in there as well to make sure we got them into the league. And now what we're doing with our B team is making sure the squad is well balanced. I think in the past, people have kind of, when you've played, you've just kind of dumped your best players in and left them. With this, to create that player pathway, you need to make sure, like this guy, Paul. Paul is one of my better players. He's 6 foot, 17 years old, going to be a really good, solid left back for us. With him being quite young at the time, he's been playing in the reserves for 2 years. The worry is that he wouldn't get much game time. So what I did do is I either get rid of any players or I move them. If they're still in contract, I move them in here. So if there's anyone blocking the pathway of Paul, they go into the under-19s. That, you know, a good place to put players sometimes. If they're too old for the 19s, but you don't want them in the B team, just shove them in the under-19s and they'll just stay there. Or shove them in your first team squad and never play them. That would be my advice. So Paul now has played regularly. He's played 15 times so far. He had 39 non-comps last year in his first full season as well. So he's done extremely well. A player, like, what do we do with him next year? I think depending on how he develops, he is 17. He's going to be 18 at the end of the season. Do we start bringing them in? I'm a little bit unsure. Like, if you look at this. We've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, potentially 6 players. I don't see it with him. He's 20 years old. He needs to improve on these technicals, but he's got some really good physicals. He could be a half-decent backup for us, which would be really cool. I do want as many Spanish players in the squad as possible. Candero was with the first team last year, and then I've dropped him out halfway through. He's not having a great season so far. He's struggling for form a little bit, but still got a little bit of potential. He is 20 years old, though, now. So now I'm looking at, is he going to be good enough? If not, is he blocking potentially the pathway of someone else? Like, so far he's played, by the looks of it, he's only been playing. Has he had an injury? Oh, yeah, shit, he's had a hernia. Right, okay. He's had a hernia and a tight groin. So that's probably slowed his progress down a little bit. But then I've got to see, is he going to make it? If not, let's make sure he's not blocking the route. So I will monitor him and just make sure, like, we've got Pablo, average. Is there anyone else that could potentially play that? Rojas is pretty good. You know, what you've got to do is, I don't want to do the team myself. The manager's doing the team, but I'll just monitor it. And I said, if it comes to a Cordero, he's blocking the pathway of someone else, I'll take him out. He'll go in my first team and sit and not do anything, maybe sit on the bench. Or he'll go into that C team where we're not bothered at all. My suggestion to get your P team in the league is just be as realistic as possible. Try and build the best squad you can. I fast track some of the youngsters. Like, we've got some lads in there, like Paul could be in the under-19s. All them down here as well could still be in the under-19s, but we've moved them in, made the B team really strong, so then they can progress through the leagues. And obviously, even with this really youthful side, they've done really well. We've got a couple of players here. Like, I signed this dude. I never thought he would be good enough. He was an ex-Real Madrid youngster, but look at his stats for the B team. Really impressive. A really good B team player. I've given myself a good goalkeeper as well, just to make sure we're well balanced. We don't have an outstanding goalkeeper yet, so I'm quite happy for them two just to play. We've got an Albanian, which I signed because we were a little bit light in the goalkeeping area. So just make sure you're well balanced. And then Angel Matteo is like no good, but he acts as a decent player when it comes to the point where he's blocking the pathway. Like, at the moment he's on the bench, so he's not really blocking the pathway of anybody. So I'm quite happy for him to be in there. Bolsters the squad. We've got a nice, good squad. And then in the under-19s as well, once again, All these players have really good potential. So most of them are 16. Like, there's a couple of 18s, so we'll make a decision. David, I think he's probably going to leave the club because he's always unhappy. But there's a couple in there that we'll make a decision on. We'll keep signing 4 or 5 youngsters every year just to make sure we get those numbers right. Like I said, we've got the 29-year-old in there out on loan at the moment. Just a little bit of a dumping ground to put players sometimes when you don't really want them to be blocking pathways of other players. So there you go. We're absolutely flying. I need to think and really look carefully at what I do with some of these players next year. Like the other standout is Francesco Secco, but he's 6'5", extremely big. Can play anywhere down the middle. Not quite. He really needs to get going a little bit. He's highly rated. He's just turned 18 as well, so he's got another couple of years of development and get another 14 tackling, gets these physicals up, just get a few of these technicals up. He's obviously going to be no more than a ball sort of like winner in the midfield, but 6'5", really good physical player. And I really want, like, the thing is, you're not going to get the wonder kids through all the time, but if you can get like a keeper through and a backup keeper through, help with player registrations for your leagues and for your European games as well, European competitions. That's what I always try and do. Try and get a few backups, like potentially Paul. I might just go with it. Like, let's compare him to my backup left back, Calderon. So Calderon 10 and 9. Let's go on the attributes. Let's do highlight complete wing back on attack. So he's already better at crossing, which is a massive part of his game. Dribbling not great at 7. Still plenty of time at 17 though to get that up. Heading better. Marking and passing not as great as Calderon, but obviously Calderon is peaked. He's 26, so we maybe need to work on a couple of his technicals potentially. Tackling's really good. Technique's really good. Mentals, by the looks of it, he's only down on average 1. Down by 2 average. I tend to try and look at the averages, but then just be careful. Like, Paul's got 15 flair here, which I suppose we need flair in a wing back. I suppose that is important, but is it that important? Maybe not. Anticipation's a little bit lower. Decisions is really good at 14. Teamwork's really good. So yeah, 6 foot as well, which always helps. Good physical profile. Needs to get them physicals up a little bit more, but he will. The strength's a shocker, but then obviously the strength on Jose Calderon. So yes, like, is he going to be good enough next season to be the backup? Absolutely. And it will then kick him on. And what I tend to do with the youth team players, with the big subs benches that you're now allowed, I try and play the game with the starting 11 as long as possible, see where the game's going. If the game's won or lost, I then tend to pile in sort of like 3 youngsters to sort of like give them 20 minutes per time. We don't get a lot. You know, we obviously have the cup. We obviously have the cup games as well in the Copa del Rey in Spain. We don't have like the 2 cups, the League Cup and stuff. So when there's only 38 games in a season, we need to just make sure that once they're in the first team, they're getting enough football so we don't hamper their progress. They need football. Obviously, the training, they'll get the mentoring as well. That we'll hopefully see. So what we're going to do is we're going to really look at Paul. Paul is going to be our guy, our sort of like test dummy in how the player pathway that I've set up is working. So we're going to do a little screenshot there. So then we can monitor that from now until the end of the season. If we go into the general sort of like development centre, as you can see, there is a whole host of players that are really looking strong. We've got Aaron as well. Like, look at him already. 12 dribbling, 12 crossing, 11 dribbling. He's only 17. He's already just turned 17. He's got great pace. We play with a right winger as well. It's looking at, because we're quite limited with our system as well, I'm making sure that the players are getting trained in certain areas and making sure they're playing in the correct positions. There's no point having him playing as a left winger. If we have a left winger, we need to change it because we're not playing with a left winger down that side. We're playing with an AP. So it does help. It makes it a little bit more tricky, but it does help down the line in terms of having these players playing in the correct position. So when you come in with that, you know, you might get that wonder kid, but there's no point in me having a wonder kid that's a really good left winger because we don't play with a left winger. So something just to be aware of. All right, guys, that is it. Thank you very much for watching. Smash a like on today's video. We'll probably be back potentially Saturday night for a stream. There may be another Malaga video later on in the week as well.